in a year. An hour and a half to where we were, they get 10 inches.
Okay, back.
Wow.
Yeah, you just go over the mountain, to the
Yeah.
other side of the island, you go from 10 to 300.
Holy cow.
I think it's under
And Kate.
more, Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, it's recording.
You can flip through it, well, but we're in a
Thank you.
meeting now. Yeah, send it back. We're meeting now.
Yeah.
7:00.
Yes. Let's see, the only one, and I didn't hear from
Carolyn?
Carol
Carol.
either, so I'm sure she's coming. But we should call the meeting to order. We passed 7
Okay.
and we will record attendance. We have someone online, so we'll do it orally. Start with you, Jay.
Jay Wellens,
Shirley Green
Tom Claus, Ed Rippey,
Kate Plumley Stewart.
and Jean.
Jean Belgrasky Hinshaw.
greetings.
And let's see, this time we don't have any public. So we'll approve the minutes of the last meeting. I move to put them on the table.
Okay, I'll second it. I review them, fine with me.
Well, I saw one big mistake.
Okay.
Did you see it, Tom?
No.
They have Daniel Reagan on here and it should be Thomas Claus.
Oh.
Tom,
Well, they
I
got
didn't read.
Tom, they got Tom.
Oh,
But
do they
they
have
also,
Tom?
they also have Dan. I'm there.
Was
Yeah.
Dan here?
Oh, I didn't realize you were there. I thought you were left off, so you
No,
only got
he's
to
not a
start
member.
Dan.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I didn't see my.
Yeah, so
He's
Dan
not a member.
shouldn't be on here.
No,
Yep, that's the same thing I had.
no,
Yeah.
Tom's there.
See, I stopped there. I thought they left you off, Tom.
No, I made sure he was there.
I'm last, but not least.
That's correct.
There any other corrections?
Nothing, not from my standpoint.
No, they look
Do
good.
we have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need to do
Yeah,
a
you gotta do a roll call, sorry.
roll call. We'll start with you, Jean.
Aye.
Jay Wellens, aye.
Shirley Green, aye.
Tom Claus, aye.
Ed Rippey, aye.
Kate Plumley Stewart, aye.
Really?
I'm trying to write down your motion, so
it-
sorry. Ed was first, but you made the motion. And Tom seconded, is that?
Correct, yes.
Tom, do you go by Tom or Thomas?
Tom.
Oh, you're doing the minutes?
No, I'm gonna take just the motion, so
Oh.
we meet the legal requirements of having them available quickly.
Yeah.
And then somebody who's qualified is gonna make actual minutes.
It's recorded.
It's recorded, but just that way, if anyone asks, you get your basics, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So
I
let's
just told
go to the select person's report. That,
Oh, boy,
I'm
that's,
sorry, I'll get that in there.
that's okay.
Next agenda. I didn't get it to Rob before he put it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. The select board met and, really the biggest item of discussion that took the majority of the meeting was the, septic ordinance, which we are going to be looking at. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about later in the meeting under new business?
Which would you rather do?
You're the
We can
chair.
go on to new business.
Okay, yeah, so that took up the majority of our meeting. There really, no earth shattering items, lots of just updates on the status of Lakeside Park. As you can see, Lakeside Park is reopened if you want to go down. A lot of plantings going in, and given the weather, they had made a plan and a second plan and a backup plan to the second plan to keep it all watered. So let's cross our fingers that everybody stays alive. And so feedback is coming in on that. We got an update on Whitney Hall and the renovation and addition. So the roof is on, and you can see, I think they were fitting a lot of the mechanical. I've not been in recently. Groundbreaking took place for the public safety complex, and they had done a lot of the excavation for the footings, and they dig you a hole. You don't actually get to dig with your own shovel. Like, they give you a pile and you dig out of the pile. So it was already pretty well started when we did that, but when it rained, it still had very good attendance. And then I think it was the next day they started pouring, if not a few days. So a substantial portion of the pour you can actually see from the road. So that's going pretty well. And I think that's pretty much it, unless you guys have questions for me. And we'll talk about the other piece, which is exciting.
Do they feel that both projects are on schedule or are they happy? Yeah.
Yep, and considering how expensive and complicated things are, I think we've been pretty realistic about our goals and our timing. So that's not saying that, I mean, supply chain issues are a thing. It's just how life rolls. But yeah, so far, and we have guaranteed maximum price agreements in place. So let's hope, and it should be good. So I think we'll be in, not obviously by this winter, but going into next year. It's exciting. I don't know if the library have you taken a tour at all yet, or?
Oh, yes.
I haven't.
Yeah. And you know, there was a couple, several weeks ago, maybe month, people that were concerned about this or that, you know, so actually, I got in touch with, Andrew Cushing.
Mhm.
And, he hadn't been in Enfield for a while, but he came and, took a look at the project and gave us a B+. He said they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you're never gonna get an A+ unless you're preserving the original structure and you're not doing anything, basically, don't get an A+.
Well, yes, and we're doing exactly
What
the
you
right
do.
thing. Some
Yeah.
people think the addition should look more like the historic building, but that is not so when you put an addition on an historic building.
It's hard to do.
It should not compete with it. And that's how he rated it so high. It was because we're not. He sent me several pictures of buildings done around the state that some had to compete. He gave some a D-. And they're all low. We had the highest one, so we can trust that the Bread Loaf knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have toured a lot of places.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
time that they had done
Oh, yes.
renovations and additions to historic buildings, so.
Yeah, they have a historic building, a historic person right on there. In business, so, and he's watching over it.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention, this was not part of the meeting, but it was announced today online. So if you haven't signed up for alerts from the town, you can do so on our new website. You can get texts, get emails. Main Street is closed. What day is it? Hang on, I'm gonna tell you. Main Street is closed to through traffic because they are putting in, conduit under the road. And that is part of our three-phase power that's going in. So in the long run, three-phase power saves you energy and the cost less, right? But upfront, you have to do a little bit of work, but it's pretty exciting. And neighboring landowners have made it possible to access the three-phase power. And one of the contractors and Liberty are paying for the install, which is, I mean, I get really excited whenever someone else is paying.
Yeah. sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty great. Does it say?
Well, Main Street was closed Tuesday,
That was the High Street.
or High Street, I'm sorry.
High Street.
High Street.
Oh, and Enfield, that's the other one I should tell you, is Enfield has a new Facebook page. So if you are online, we're looking for Enfield, NH, not Enfield, New Hampshire. And that is because they had to do some work to revamp. If you have an older Facebook page and you didn't sign up for it in exactly the way you wished you would be in the future, some of them cannot be modified. So they've gone ahead and created a new page, which is Town of Enfield, NH, and that will be the new page. So you'll want to follow that. That one has the road closure, which is July 15th, which is this coming Monday. And I think most of us can easily avoid it. I'll say the last street, so, and you'll be able to come in on either side of the conduit for the people who live there. So it's a exciting development. Lots going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kay.
You're welcome.
So we'll go on to new business. And shall we have the first item on? This is the proposed separate rules for the
Thank you.
Really?
And I don't have an electronic copy, unfortunately. It was printed. I didn't think about having anyone online, so we'll have to get one for Jean.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
Jane.
right. Sorry, Jane. I did not think of that, and I should have, I could have, I could have sent you one from home.
That's okay. We can always scan it and send it to you.
Yeah, I will do
Or
that
actually,
when I get home tonight, Jane. I'm
I'll send
sorry.
it. I'm gonna take a photograph of it and I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
Watch. Hold this.
I could have scanned it easily.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing it right now. We're good. Jane, I'm gonna send it to you as pictures. It won't be beautiful, but
And I'll send you a regular copy when I get home.
and Shirley, do you want me to give the rundown once everyone's
Yeah.
had a chance to
Yeah,
read
I'd
it?
like you to, because
Yeah.
this is something that is, will come to the, select board. So I'd like you to do that,
Oh, that's pretty good.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Pretty exciting.
that's a commitment.
I think so, and I think,
Yeah.
really, I want to give credit to all of the people who went, from, is that the one, the particular lake holder, lake home and property stakeholder meeting, when they gave feedback and people really gave pretty unanimous feedback. And the first time we've ever gotten such
good.
strong feedback. Now, I was not in that meeting. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that's the outcoming report of
I-
that meeting. But, from that, we looked at Sunapee's rules. And they worked, Dan Regan worked on it, Cusick did some work on it, you know, this is,
Yeah,
and we're looking for input from everyone, but I'm saying those, like, kind of, just to give us a jumping off point. We did an initial read as a select board in our last meeting. And we had as a reference some of those documents, but rather than give you a giant packet, we started with this. You guys can watch, the meeting, and there will eventually be a public hearing. So there's a couple ways we can approach this as a town. The most immediate way to enact a rule like this and get it on the books is for us to make it a health ordinance. So if it's a health and safety problem, the select board has legal authorization to enact certain measures. And so we're looking at it from that standpoint. That doesn't mean down the road, this could be a Swiss cheese where we're looking at so many things like stormwater, planning boards looking at some things. Maybe we have to put in place something that has to go to town meeting in the future, but this is something we will run in front of legal. We obviously are in a period of taking input and we're hoping to get it in place maybe by fall is kind of the general target. I'm not making any promises, but that's just a general target and what we've talked about. So,
Who's the
obviously,
expense of that? Is that gonna be the town? We all sharing the expense of that inspection, or is that gonna be applied to the homeowner?
it's gonna be on the homeowner to do.
Homeowner.
And really, you're supposed to be, there's varying schools of thought. Like, we heard a bunch of folks from the audience. There were people who felt you didn't have to pump them as often, especially if they had low occupancy. And I think there's a lot of different feelings and different professionals who have varying opinions. But the state of New Hampshire has, I think, is it 2 to 4 years? And New Hampshire Lakes makes some recommendations. And so we erred kind of on the side of not being punitive, but not being like 2 years. We went for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think with anything in this town, right, in any town, if you really have a hardship or a problem, there's an appeal process. So you could come in and be like, no one's resided in this house in 3 years, and that might be a great reason to check your septic, but there's that. If somebody had a hardship, there are some homes that are older, people have inherited, they can't afford them. We do have a Health and Human Services Department. We do have financial aid for things from everything for food, for housing, right? We have some obligations as a town. So if people meet those criteria, they can get help anyway. So I'm personally not as worried about the expense.
Yeah. How much will the expense be to the homeowners for the inspection?
So you just have, I don't know it depends on who you use, I should say. Not that I don't know. It is,
500 to 700.
that's what I was gonna say, approximately.
yeah, I mean, and I've had it done for less, but again, that's gonna be, it depends on who you use and how comprehensive.
Oh, okay, so I'm losing you, Kate, a little bit. I thought this was gonna be a neutral inspection, but no, you're talking about, like, I use Stearns, the pump mine.
Mhm.
So they'll come every 3 years, and if they get, their document will qualify me as being inspected when they come and inspect it and pump it. Okay, I understand. I thought there was like a separate inspector coming to do
No.
all okay.
No.
Okay,
Well, does the inspection include the leach field?
So we had that discussion during the meeting, and I would encourage you to watch the meeting because there was a lot of really great discussion that I'm not gonna be able to give you verbatim. But no is the answer, right? Not every septic company inspects all the leach field, and you can't necessarily get into
They're like
everything.
Stearns.
Stearns can,
He-
right?
some
So
of
he
them
has some cameras, some of them don't. So some of them are going,
Pardon me,
Stearns can or can't?
can.
yes.
Yes.
Some have a camera that can show the whole system so that you can tell. if there's a-
And some systems are larger than others, so I'll pick on myself, right? So I have a very large stone and pipe leach field, which is not very common anymore, but it also is something that doesn't fail as easily because it doesn't have mechanicals in the same way a lot of modern septics do, but I have more space and I have the appropriate soil type and all of that fun jazz. And I paid a ton of money to an engineer who's wonderful to do it. So they're not necessarily gonna be able to do my whole field because of the size, but they would be able to see that the tank was working, that it was leaching properly, right? They'd be able to probably reach the D-box.
So who will be the watchdog over this? Will the companies like Stern submit reports to the town?
On the homeowner needs to submit it.
Oh, okay, so I need to submit my, okay.
Yep.
And I said just, okay,
And so, and I know, I'm sure they'll put a process in place. Part of, I'm not saying it's necessarily gonna be our new website, but we have a lot of new capabilities. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that there will be an option to do some uploads or something a
Okay.
little easier.
Yeah,
But
this,
yeah, you're gonna get a copy of your inspection and
Right.
what you pumped
and we
anyway.
submit it.
because this is a proposal, there will be some fine tuning.
Yeah, and there'll be, and these are all very good questions. And, you know, I'm happy to take some of them to the board. You're welcome to come.
Yeah.
I think there were questions about, well, why just the lakes and why not, you know, some of the rivers and stuff? And I don't disagree. There was a question about leaving out Spectacle Pond. I personally think that Spectacle Pond needs to be on there.
Yeah.
Because it is one of our larger water bodies and it goes into Gulf Brook, goes to the Indian River, which goes to Mascoma Lake, which
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mascoma River, which goes to Mascoma Lake, which eventually ends up in Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's how it all works, so I think, you know, we are, and there was a question about whether we did George Pond, so. I think, you know, you have to start somewhere, and I'm certainly an
Yeah,
advocate of
it sounds
starting
great.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
And somewhere in the town, we'll have probably a database, right, Kate?
So we're able on our GIS maps to pull out everything within the 250-foot boundary.
Right.
So they'll snap that out into some kind of grid, I'm sure.
And plug it in
I'm
as
gonna
the.
call it Excel because I love Excel, but I'm sure that they will
Right.
automate some of it, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that we can catch the non-compliance. Someone, you know, the non-compliance need to be, okay. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
And I
It
think,
was very, Dan, I was actually, Dan and I both met with the Sunapee group. At
Yes.
the actually, Congress to talk about it over lunch.
and I think, what's really, I really like at the bottom of page 2, and remember, we had talked about this extensively, because if you sell your home in cash,
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
you
yep.
don't have to have it. I was like, oh no, I'm the queen of this. I've already done it
Yeah.
before. And we knew that we had an older septic, and at the time it was working well. Guess what? It failed. I mean, I made it about 10
That's
years
good.
before it failed,
That's
but
good.
you know, now I've got $25,000 into it.
And see, there was a, bill that they tried to, New Hampshire Lakes proposed, and we tried to
I
pass
think
this year.
Gonna-
It'll come back again this year.
Oh, it's not gonna go for
It didn't
signature?
go this year.
Oh, I thought
no.
it was gonna go for signature.
No,
It didn't make it. Oh,
no,
that's an easy
but it
win.
was a lot, it's a big help that a lot more people are sending in their wishes to their representatives. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I would encourage you individually to
Yeah.
write in.
Right, because, that they have to listen, you know, to us or.
That's good. That's really good.
If you guys have thoughts, though, what I would ask is that you put them in writing and you can forward them to, I would say to Ed
We send oh, you mean,
on these. So if you have specific thoughts or questions, just forward them so they can all get aggregated, and we're gonna try to just take a look, because this is a first read. We got it the same way you did as a first read
Yeah.
on the fly, because we asked for a quick turnaround, and I was kind of joking, like, can we have this for next meeting? Or I was like, come on, be reasonable. And then they brought it for the next meeting, which is, I think, a pretty big deal for a 2-week turnaround in a very busy town. But I think it's such an important thing. So we've got the original initial groundwork. If everybody can pitch in a few of their thoughts and questions.
Okay, very
do
good.
you think that we should, as a commission, say whether we support this.
I think you could,
I
you know,
think that'd
give, I mean, you could make it a general support and say, I think right now where it's in draft form and general support is certainly welcome. It
We
could
could vote
be,
on that tonight, couldn't we?
Yes,
Yeah,
because I think it's important to the other community to know that we do support it.
Yeah. And I think it's really exciting because we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
And I like seeing all of these kinds of committee works from different places and areas in the town come together. I forgot to tell you guys the penalty clause. A few of us were like $100 a month, like. If you have a septic that you need to replace and it's really expensive, you might want to pay the $100 a month, right, instead. So the discussion we had are, so if you are polluting the lake, right, and you're a known polluter. Or if there's something that fails, that's a health and safety violation. So you can eventually lose your occupancy permit. Now, the goal is to keep people in their homes and to work with them. So that would be far down the road. But the question was, is this $100 a month enough?
Right. That's a good question.
It's going to legal because when something is a health ordinance from the select board, we only have certain brackets of dollars, so we don't get to pick the dollar amount. So the question is, what are we allowed to do? And what range? And I think we were leaning towards higher if we're allowed.
Okay,
I'm
I
just
agree with that,
saying,
yeah.
in
Okay.
general, I'm not promising you, like, if they came back and said $2,000, these guys might not agree, but I think
Right.
there was a general consensus that 100 was a little bit low, considering the severity of what happened.
Yeah, and it goes on for a year, that's $1,200. And yeah, it's just too cheaper than
10
replacing.
years, you can
Yeah.
still haven't paid for something.
Yes.
Yeah.
$30,000 to
Think about
replace
how
that.
much,
Is it that much?
That's, yeah, or more.
it's a small amount
Easy- easy.
compared to what people
We
pay
did, just
for
did a
their
septic and
Right.
leach field.
town. The public.
Yeah.
Water and sewage. Small amount.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so
So.
email for Ed is townmanager@enfield.nh.us, and you could just mark the heading septic rule feedback if you have any.
Okay.
If you guys want to make a motion, happy to take it back.
Yep. So I'd like to move that, the Conservation Commission supports the, septic proposal and the town and the select board moving forward.
I'll make that motion. I'd like to make that motion that we support it with a recommendation that we do increase the penalty if possible. Okay? That's my motion. Just to approve it as a commission.
Right.
Right.
I mean, the only thing I question, and just thinking of
You want to say support, maybe?
the financial burden on people is, if you get a full inspection, I think that needs to be clarified here, because I look at it and says, well, if you just have the tank inspected, is that enough?
Okay, yep,
You know, I think you
You
need to have a
it
full,
cleaned or inspected.
I need to have the full leach field and tank inspected to have a proper inspection. But when you have that done, at least I think when I've had it done in the past, they'll tell you it's gonna be good, it's good for so many years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they have to do that every 3 years, I think is a burden that may be
I
unnecessary.
don't think you have to do the leach field, so they're gonna be able to tell you whether it's working. And septic, anybody who can do these inspections has a license with the state of New Hampshire, so they should be qualified to speak to that without having to do such an extensive one. And that was kind of some of the discussion we had, was you
Right,
probably
okay.
don't need such an invasive one.
They can probably tell.
It's basically a pass-fail kind of.
When when an expert inspects the tank, they can probably tell if the leach field's working or if there's a problem. Right.
There'll be signs.
They have a professional license
Yeah.
that's on the line
Okay.
too, so. It's not just somebody who's like, hey, this looks nice.
Yeah, and that's what's so important for the lakes to know.
Oh, no, I realize that. The only way I was questioning is
Yeah.
if they inspect it and say it's fine. You know, is it the inspection required every 3 years?
See, we do ours.
So-
We have like a little wastewater treatment plant. And, we pump it 1 year, inspect it the next, pump it every other year, we pump or inspect. And that's what they recommend and we do.
Yeah, I called to have mine pumped. She goes to me, well, you just had a pump a year ago. You can, well, a year and a half ago, so you can wait another year.
And it's the
God.
ones that come and inspect ours are the ones who designed it.
I babysit mine because I paid a lot of money
Stearns-
for
Yeah.
it.
Stearns put it in and they pump it.
They're good.
Yeah.
Really.
They-
Oh, is that what Sunapee, I'm just curious what you, compared to what Sunapee does, right? Like Sunapee,
Mhm.
right? So what is their requirement?
Very
That's curious.
simple. Very similar. You can look
Yeah,
at that online.
it's
I
very
didn't see with
similar.
me.
So same thing every 2 or
Oh,
3
yeah.
years and has to be inspected every
That's what we
time.
heard about it, at the Lakes Congress through there, because someone was presenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more I think about it, it's
Yeah.
probably.
So then
probably-
we asked him if we could speak with him, that, you know, we could
Yeah.
learn more about it.
Yeah.
that,
No, and the more I think about it, I can see the reason for this. A lot can happen in 3 years.
Yeah, oh,
You don't know. Tree roots,
And
you know,
with the
whatever.
climate change.
yeah, that's true too, yeah.
There's
yeah,
so many things, more things. that
I think
affect
too,
it.
Yeah.
people forget about things like your toilet decides it's going to just run and run and run. That's not great for your septic or your
No.
leach field,
No.
right? Like that can destroy it too. So just little things that get away that you wouldn't necessarily have noticed, like if you're away and you turn your heat down to the lowest low and something decides it's gonna trickle.
Yeah,
It
because you never
pretty
know.
rough.
Yeah.
Once,
Well,
years-
especially if you don't usually use it in the winter and it rises above the frost level, right? Like there's just like little weird things that make it worthwhile.
years ago, the power went off when Andrea was home from college and she was taking, she had her hair all lathered up and couldn't rinse it because the water went too with the power went off.
Okay.
But she ran to the kitchen and tried there and that didn't work, so she left.
Yep.
Well, guess what?
Okay.
When I came home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
It
and
was
the
on.
power had come on and it had, water had been running. And
Yeah, cause you don't think about it when it's on.
no, you don't think about it being off. But, so those things do happen.
Yep. I think the only thing I, just thinking out loud here is that, the requirement of every 3 years, I think should have, built into it, a little bit of like, doesn't have to be exactly 3 years, you know, and maybe have a little bit of leeway, so as long as it's within 3 months of 3 years or something. Cause you know, it's hard to schedule.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh my God, I gotta get it done. You call them up and say, well, we can't inspect it and pump it out for.
And usually that rulemaking falls to operations, like when they, so I'd say, like as an example, something that is annual is like by April, you do your dog license, right? So you can do your dog license like anytime. just
I
gotta do-
think that,
I don't know.
probably the people that are in charge, it would probably be expecting that could happen.
Yeah.
People, I know, like, you know, we were probably 2 months off last year on getting.
That's what I'm saying.
It's easy.
Yeah.
I would
easy to
say
have that.
You're still being-
usually operations
But
is
if-
pretty good about
As
stuff.
long as you were within a few months. I
That's what I'm
don't think
saying,
it's a
yeah, as
problem.
long, I don't know if that should be built in there, but I think that would, it should
It's a
be,
good question.
you
It's a
know?
good question.
I mean, it's obvious.
Cause all of a sudden you're like, oh God, not only do on this, I got now I'm about, $300 cause I'm 3 months late.
I'll give you another example, like,
Yeah.
so if you need a pool credit, you put in yours by June, you put in your form. And by the June 26th was this year, right? But so there's things that have kind of annual deadlines, right? It's kind of like tax bill. like,
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
coming by. So I think as long, it's not gonna be like January 1st. So I think usually those fall to operations and they set the date and administer them and they do a pretty good job, because they really don't want to make their lives harder, because then it's hard to track down and it's more work for no reason.
Yeah, they're not gonna
I mean-
want to be tracing every one of our dates to see what we're doing.
Yeah, when are you gonna stop pushing penalties? It's gonna be at least 3 months past, right? I would say, they're gonna be 3 months before you really start saying, okay, Tom, you haven't done it, so. It's been 3 months,
And I.
and that's like the first
and that's a
notice,
reasonable amount.
first notice, okay, it's been 3 months.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's, yeah, I see what you're saying, we could put it in, but I think there's a reasonable amount of time.
Good reason to go attend these public meetings too,
Yeah.
and to have your input.
There will be a public hearing.
Because, those things will be considered, there's lots of times,
Yeah.
But
it's
the-
still, like I said, there's details.
I think the intent here is to get the people that aren't doing it and they
To do it.
like
Oh, yeah.
dig their heels in
Yeah.
not to do it.
Sure.
They're gonna go after that.
Yeah,
Those of
agree.
us that are gonna be doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna get fine tuned down the road. And I think, right now we got a motion, we still can discuss it, but right now we got a motion saying that, let's support it.
Yep.
With a caveat of, I'm recommending a caveat of a higher penalty.
Yep.
Recommending a higher penalty. So your comments are great. I agree that. I think that can be fine tuned into it. But I just wanna, I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should basically say.
Yeah, this is something
Give our
that's
support.
very important.
Was
Yep.
there a second?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, I'm like, this
Okay.
is why we
Yeah,
never
we
get
did
paid.
do it. We did
what
do it.
motion are you putting in anyway?
I have a motion to support septic rules with an increase to the penalties if possible. That's what I have. I mean.
Yep.
Is
I'm
that,
okay with that.
okay, I mean, I'm, like I said, I really shouldn't take any minute.
That's the gist of it. I mean, and I think Tom's stuff can be worked out. I think that's, you know,
Well, that's a
that'll be
fine.
detailed, fine tuned out.
Sure.
And that's why it's good to have input from the public.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's the feedback that we can send in, you know? Okay. So I made the motion, you seconded it. Anyone else comments?
Jean's on.
Oh, you have anything you want to say, Jean?
No, other than I agree with supporting it and I agree with increasing, recommending that they consider increasing the penalty. And I do think that, Tom's comment is a good one, but I kind of think that the people who write this and figure out how it will be administered should be able to take care of that. And I think they are going to want to go after people who just ignore it.
Yeah.
Will be their starting place. And if they start harassing people who are, 2 weeks late, then
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
not,
another thing altogether. Yeah, yeah. But public comment is always a good place to make sure that's taken into consideration.
Jean,
Okay,
I
so-
just realized this didn't go to you I had to switch from my phone email, which is my town one, to the Outlook version, because
It's okay.
2-factor authentication, man. This is my bad. I'm sorry. It just
That's
bounced.
okay. No problem.
Well, that wasn't very helpful for the discussion with you, though. Thought I had it. Multitasking.
Well, you
failed.
gave a good review, so I had the gist of it.
Okay, well, hopefully I sent it from the actual Outlook on my phone. I should have opened my laptop.
Shall we vote?
Sure.
We need to have an oral vote. We'll start with you, Jean.
Jean Hinshaw, aye.
Jay Wellens, aye.
Shirley Green, aye.
Tom Claus, I,
Ed Rippey, aye.
I think I should abstain because I'm gonna vote again on the select board.
Oh.
Okay,
I mean, I totally support it, but
Yeah.
that way no one can be like double jeopardy.
Yeah, got it.
so you can put there, probably,
I'm just like Kate abstains, since she will be voting.
All right, that's cool. I like that. That's good stuff.
Yes.
It's
So
part
we've been
of,
talking about it for how long, Shirley? Forever.
we're getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And
got
planning
it.
board's stormwater stuff, I mean,
She
we're
got it.
all in.
She got it.
Yeah.
Because I actually went down and testified at the hearings in Concord this past winter. And they had so many people at this one hearing that they had to have it in the House chambers instead of in a private meeting
Wow.
room. Because so many, and went on to almost 6 o'clock.
Hmm.
Because people were back and they took one side and then the other and it's amazing. The ones who are against it, the main ones are real estate agents. I don't know.
Then it's one more
because-
step to do, I understand.
Because it makes it more difficult for them or?
Yeah.
Or what?
Does that justify anything?
I would say though, in
No.
most cases, your mortgage broker requires one anyways, so you're already gonna be doing it.
Yeah.
But in the rare occasion someone coughs up cash, yeah, it would make a cash sale slower.
Yeah,
Yep, that would.
and like
I mean,
Waco thing, it's the building industry, of course.
I mean, that's usually where it comes from, and you're like, ooh.
Alrighty, good.
Okay, so I didn't have any other new business on the agenda. Anybody else have any?
Nope, it's on the business for
Did
me.
we want to talk about Lake Smart? What's been going on with how many families are?
Oh,
doing it?
well, we have 17 people so far. We've actually had other people that contacted us that have made an appointment to have,
Did we had,
yeah. Crystal Lake is attempting to become a Lake Smart community. And so out of 17, have you heard back yet?
I just got it, yesterday, just got a report.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so, and.
And that's it,
I'll
but
talk-
they haven't come back to,
They have not come back. Now, we did what they recommended,
yeah? Oh, good.
but I may do a little bit more before I have them come back.
Mhm.
But you get a nice,
17 people had a visit.
Yeah.
And I think.
Is this on Crystal Lake?
Yep,
Appointment.
and there were 2 that day.
Yep.
That were approved.
that's, yep.
And in addition to our one. And the others will probably, as soon as they fine tune some things that they need to do in their yard, they will probably get their Lake Smart Road too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
And we
had mine
have
done, I had mine done, I'm waiting for my report.
yeah.
We've already
That's
had
great.
some of the recommendations.
And we
but,
have
still got
since
to do.
then, some people have contacted us that have, made an appointment and they're gonna be coming in and looking at their property.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
So it's going well.
So you get the report and there's 4 categories. And so like ours, driveway and parking areas. Your Lake Smart status, congratulations, you achieved it. Structures and wastewater treatment system, we got a brand new septic and
Yeah.
leach field, so we better
Oh,
pass.
there's the upside.
Yeah, congratulations, you have achieved Lake Smart status, so 2 for 2, get psyched here. We already knew we didn't, I think. Yard recreation areas and footpaths. Congratulations, you have achieved that. And then shoreline and water access, that's the one where a lot of us got zinged.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
you have opportunities for improvement. In this section, read on for more ways to protect your land, and they recommended a whole bunch of different plants.
Nice.
And so we've already put in 2 blueberry bushes,
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
and we put in 2 swamp azaleas. And 2 mountain laurels. And they recommend some other stuff, elderberry and buttonbush.
Mhm.
So we might,
Elderberry's a good edible too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun for grandkids.
yeah, so we might add a couple more
I want some
things.
netting for the
And then
ducks.
have them come back.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen ducks pick berries?
No.
Didn't you?
This is a good, this is the
That's-
thing.
They zinged you on
It's
that.
ridiculous.
Oh, yeah,
As to why.
we've seen ducks.
And they have their little lips, right? So they go,
We
We have-
was in our.
we have them on Mascoma Lake
Yeah, yeah.
holding some of the dirt back because we have a point and there's some sandy areas and my parents installed these blueberries to hold the shoreline back, right? Well, then your ducks are gonna kill them.
Yeah.
So now we have something we can just lift up and it has a cage over
Hey,
it.
it is, it is.
The other morning, there
I have
was
to
a
do it
chipmunk
sometime.
in the bush, blueberry bush eating
Oh, yeah.
them.
I mean,
Yeah.
yay for wildlife, but
Yeah.
they go to the bathroom on the lawn, which isn't great for the lake.
My neighbor had a Labrador retriever that loved blueberries. That was pretty funny to watch.
I have 6
But this
dogs that eat.
They like 'em too?
blueberries.
This is one of the good
I've never
things,
seen a dog eat berries, but this is the first one I've seen.
probably the only good thing that came out of cyanobacteria was awareness
Mhm.
of the buffers around the lake.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
And it's good to see that.
there's, let's not let a good crisis go to waste, right?
It's true. It's a good point.
So this is Lake Smart provides a report card. I'm just saying a few notes. And then is Mascoma Lake? Some of those folks are starting to meet with them too. Is that?
I don't know anything about.
I think Ann Coop was gonna come over to see you.
Pardon me,
Ann Coop is on Mascoma. She's
Yeah.
gonna see you.
Carol,
Oh, okay.
Carol would know if she was here probably.
yeah. But, I have to get need to get in touch with Martha to check with her.
So Jay, those 2 plants that we put in the mountain laurel and the swamp azaleas, those are also compatible with blueberries.
Nice.
So, we did a little research, see what works with what.
Yes, nice.
That's
So-
great.
There we go.
And they like acidic soil and you have a lot of trees there that are acidic.
Yeah, like a 112-foot pine tree.
Yeah.
That drops.
Does anyone else have any new business they'd like to?
Just don't.
No new business.
No, I'm waiting for.
I'll just quickly report on old business.
Well, that's good. Okay, so we'll move on to old business. And do you have an update on?
Yeah, it's just basically, what I reported last month, that I'm preparing to do that, presentation for speaking for wildlife on the wildlife history of New Hampshire. So I'm practicing. By no means an expert on it, but it's about a 30-minute presentation. So, Jerry sent me a bunch of game pictures from his game camera. So I'm at the end of the presentation, I'm gonna just show those. I think it's pretty cool. Here's a local landowner, and this is what he's seen on his land. And it's pretty extensive, from moose to
Yeah.
everything, to bobcat to everything. I mean, he's got a pretty good selection of pictures. So I was gonna flash those and then just take questions and stuff. So there's gonna be time available. So it should be interesting. And I hope to see all you faces there. And then as far as the 28th, I'll lead the walk, weather permitting, to Coal Pond, and hopefully, will blueberries still be there? On the yeah, so maybe
In a
we'll
high
see some,
elevation, if they're natural, yes,
yeah, cause I know there's tons of blueberries around Coal Pond.
if the animals don't eat them.
Right, yeah, so, I mean, you might see some ducks eating blueberries at Coal
But
Pond.
they're low bush up there.
Yeah, it's all low bush, yeah, there's tons of them up there. There's probably more than there's a lot of them, but that's cool to see. So anyway, I'm good with that. I put out a bunch of posters the other day around Enfield. I'm still gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna stretch out into Lebanon a little bit and in Canaan, but, I'm putting out posters and,
Your stuff went up on the website and it looks really nice.
Yeah.
And then it went out in the email blast about.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's drawing attention, yeah. And like I said, I got them out to the banks and the stores and the kiosks around town, so.
Someone asked on the listserv because they thought they missed your presentation. They were
I know.
sad, and I was
I
like,
saw that.
you see, I was.
I
like,
responded to him.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I said, you got the wrong month.
Yeah, but look, she's hyped it up for you.
Yeah, I know.
It's in here. I just picked them up today and they'll be out in the
Yeah.
businesses.
So anyway, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think it'll be fun. The presentation itself is pretty good, I think. It's the UNH extension. And it's got a lot of thought points to it. I mean, it talks about from, occupation, before 1600, well, before 1700, the 1600s, when people first came in. And it really covers the change of the landscape over the course of the time. How it was all forest, became all open, then it's becoming all forest again, and how that impacted wildlife and everything. But it also really emphasizes the human impact too. And that's something we all should be aware of, is the human impact and what it's done. So the forest is coming back, that's a good thing, but we still got development. So development is something we always need to think about, it's always impacting wildlife, so it's a good presentation.
Does it have anything on native peoples and how they interacted with
Yeah,
wildlife?
oh yeah.
I mean, I know we focus a lot along the colonization and how.
No, it starts with the native people and how they actually, they farmed a little bit. They actually did burns to create favorable hunting and stuff like that. So they played with the land a little bit. And then slowly in the 1700s, the 1800s was the impactful century. That's the one that really made a huge change. That was the Industrial Revolution. That's when, the forests left. I mean, New Hampshire was, depending upon where you are, 60 to 80% forest free. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, the
was-
stone walls tell that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was all open land. And then what happened was, then the farms, the big ag farms in the Midwest started to grow. So the people in New England said, I can't make any money farming. So all the farms, everything farming went west. And, and then it was just the subsistence farmers, the last few people, the dairy farmers and stuff, they hung around. They weren't growing vegetables and stuff anymore. It was just the dairy farmers and stuff like that. And the forest has just been filling in again, except for where we develop. So it's really eye-opening in some ways, but it's just stuff that we all need to be aware of, and things we can do. So it's good. It's good. I think, I'll do my best to present it. I'm not a natural speaker, but I'm practicing now. You guys just want to pass it around.
Great.
I think you're a good speaker. You're fine.
Yeah.
And you're
excited
sincere.
about what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's half of it.
And I'll encourage dialogue and stuff like that. It was really funny, Shirley. We went to that presentation at Chosen Vale,
Yeah.
that guy from Squam Lake. So afterward, we were introduced as Conservation Commission people, and then there were some people asking questions, and this gentleman comes over to me. He was really concerned about beavers and impacting land. So I'm not an expert on that. I just recommended him talk to the Fish and Game. I don't know the rules or anything. That talk to the Fish and Game. If they're really impacting your land, you can hunt them, I'm sure, but I wasn't gonna be the person that say you can.
I stay right out of that.
Yeah, I would. I said, fish.
Don't touch the beaver.
But this gentleman, I think, lives down on Knox River there, where it's been really bad.
I got an inquiry about a dead beaver the other day
I've had an inquiry and
in that area.
someone may be here to speak next meeting, who knows?
I can speak right now. I was bike riding on Shaker Boulevard a week or so ago. And we were just coming down there and I heard a gunshot. I got to the lake and there was a gentleman with a pistol standing on the lake, shooting into the river. We didn't stop. My wife and I just kept on going. And he had a pistol in his hand and
Wow.
And that's where
So I made a recommendation to the inquiry that they contact the police.
yeah,
Because if it involves a firearm in an area where firearms are not generally
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah.
And some kind of poaching of things on state land, I figure that's better to let the professionals.
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a mess. I looked at it. I mean, it really, that the dam is huge and it was, the water was backing up onto his driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty bad, but
There
he's
was,
sitting there with his pistol. It looked like Wyatt Earp as I'm driving by.
Oh, boy.
I just kind of shook my head and kept going.
So do you have a section
Wise
at
move.
the end to kind of
Has got-
discuss how to best coexist with wildlife?
Um,
You know, like good practices?
I leave it to Fish and Game. I'm not.
Okay, I just was wondering,
Yeah.
you mentioned.
And there are people with trapping licenses
Yeah.
who know what they're doing, like, there's a number of good trapper, like, who are qualified around here, who understand what they are and aren't allowed to do.
well, we can have a speaker come to Fish and Game too for a meeting.
But that's a good idea.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
I mean, and we do get,
I think that's a great idea.
as a town, we do have our own collection of beavers. I'd like
Yeah.
to thank the highway team for naming one of them after my maiden name.
Yes, I'm just thinking, like, the do's and don'ts, I mean, people know, but for bears, they don't take down your bird feeders,
Yeah.
you know.
Probably lots of
night.
things.
We actually
don't
don't.
know.
But, other things, if you see, digging up in your yard and it's a skunk, maybe ways to, I don't know.
Coexist, the way is to coexist.
Exactly,
That's what I was
that's what.
I could give you guys an entire video for the end of your presentation, just from my neighbor's yard of her security camera. Bobcat, skunk, porcupine, which my dog came back with one quill in his nose hole. So I said bobcat, yeah, one quill. Then she sent me a video with a bear, which I was like, is that my black cat? Oh, that's a bear. Oh, there's a beaver in the background. And AJ, or I was like, oh, there's ducks. And AJ's like, hey, there's a beaver in that video too, all in one frame, right in front of the pond.
Wow.
Directly in front. And then she sent it around to me and there was a baby moose and it was walking around the house and I like tried to flip up.
Sure, is it a video?
Yeah, their video.
You can send it to
I'll see
me.
if I can get them off.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Clip.
Well, like I said, at the end of my thing, if we have time, I get Jerry's pictures and yours. I wouldn't mind
I
just
don't know if I
showing
can get good enough
people.
quality, but if I could do it and assemble it, it's pretty
Yeah.
fun.
It was interesting, if you read about that, in the 1800s, there were no beavers in New England. Virtually zippo, occasional ones, but they were pretty much for the fur,
What got
they were
them here?
hunted out.
Mm.
How they come?
They were here, but we trapped them.
Oh.
In the 1800s, we eliminated, just like we did the passenger pigeon, we basically almost eliminated them. We didn't make them extinct.
That wasn't coexist.
No, it wasn't. I mean, that's what humans do. Humans, when they find something they like, they really go at it and they.
Buffalo.
Yeah, yeah,
One
you
thing
go.
I forgot to bring tonight that I wanted to recommend. I read Ranger Rick with my grandson, and I recommend that to adults and reading to your grandchildren
Yeah,
or children.
Yeah,
Because it was right on about taking care of our watershed. It was amazing,
Yeah.
the articles in it.
Yeah.
This month for a 5 to 7-year-old, therefore.
I think you guys are
He
doing
just
great.
got the one, we used to get the cub from the younger one, but he just started with the older one.
Yeah.
And it's great, and also at the Mount Shire, this, I don't remember how long it's gonna be there. They've got a wonderful exhibit, they call it Oceans, but it's all about the watersheds and pollution and
Yeah.
all and the rain. They've
you
got-
can't say that enough. You
So-
can't drive
I
that
said,
in.
we should have been there.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what, though?
My grandkids are coming, we'll get.
I wonder if that wouldn't be a good article for the newsletter, just because you guys are doing so many education pieces, highlighting like things that, obviously you're teaching this, so it will be a report afterwards, but saying like, we've done these education pieces, and we're continuing to encourage education for all age levels and, say it locally. There's a lot of focus right now on watersheds and talking about watersheds all over town. And there's an exhibit. We could write
Yep.
something short.
Actually, as one that touches on it very much, it's already done, and working with Elisa.
Oh, so
on it.
awesome.
It's on, the UNH's program, the, DES program, and New Hampshire Lakes.
So I to put in the newsletter.
That's for the next news.
Awesome. Cause newsletter content is up, cause I think a lot of people read it and the more chances you have to learn.
It's a perfect segue for the septic, you know what I mean, to talk about the watershed, and it's a perfect segue, it just ties in.
Yeah.
There's so many exciting things that we can
Perfect.
be part of.
Everything goes downhill
Everything goes down.
unless it's pumped back up by action.
Cool.
Oh, the examples they have at the Monshire are amazing.
Yeah.
It's been,
There's a,
for the,
I love going there. We're
Yeah.
good members.
Awesome.
Keep going back. It's a quick beaver story. I was out on my kayak, went over to Bicknell Brook area, and I came across the beaver pond. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, oh, he starts swimming out, and he swims, and he turns around, and he flops his.
yeah, the only way you can tell is the table.
Yeah, because I disturbed him. He
Oh,
was-
I encountered
I
that.
ticked him off, and I got all wet. I thought it was hysterical.
I encountered that up on, the Mascoma River off the Switch Road. I don't know if you know that little, wildlife area, you head towards Bear Pond.
Yeah.
There's that bridge. I was sitting there and I watched the same thing. A female swam right up to me because I watched the male. He was over by the dam. She swam right up to me and we made eye contact. And she did the same thing,
Yeah.
flapping her tail and she's circling around.
And they bite. You do know this, right?
That wasn't that
I'm just,
close.
no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I learned this from a different interaction with another friend. I was like, I did not know they bite. And
That
then you
would
get
hurt with
rabies
those big
shot.
It was really cool.
Well, late winter, this past winter, when the lake was still frozen, but there was some water showing
Yeah,
over, towards the dam end.
yeah.
And there were 6 bald eagles, 3 of them standing on the ice and 3 of them snorkeling up
Isn't that-
above.
Yeah.
And I'm looking in the water and there was a beaver in the water
Ah,
and he was teasing those eagles. He would come out of the water, he'd come right onto the ice.
Yeah.
And he'd plop back in the water again.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The eagles never got him.
Oh, I've seen eagles, I've seen beavers do that with a dog. I was at a reservoir once when I was in college and I watched this big reservoir. I watched a newfie, a big newfie go crazy, swimming out to a beaver.
Yeah.
And the master's calling that newfie and calling it. The newfie kept swimming and swimming. He let the dog get close and dive. And then he'd pop up farther in the lake and let him see him. And he was dragging that dog farther and farther out into this reservoir. Until finally the dog was exhausted. And the master's calling the dog and calling the dog. Finally, the dog was exhausted, turned around and came back in.
Yeah,
And that was pretty,
they're pretty smart.
yeah,
they can protect.
it's amazing if you have the wildlife around and take the time to observe them, isn't it, what
Yeah.
you're.
We saw an otter in the ice, break through the section of ice, had a fish in his mouth. And he was sitting on the ice eating it, and then 2 eagles started circling around, and he looks up and they come to swoop down, he goes in the.
Is this in Crystal?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because there's otters in Mascoma too.
Yeah.
You've seen them in Crystal,
and
good.
he did that a couple times to
Yeah, too.
tease them.
Yeah, I know, man.
Just like a beaver.
Yeah.
And he got away every time.
Yeah, they're pretty
I like
cool to
it.
watch.
Well, we see the eagles come after people leave after ice fishing.
Yeah,
They'll be
yeah.
around the ice fishing holes
Yeah.
looking for bits and pieces.
Yeah.
yeah, I watched an eagle feed off a dead deer on Mascoma. I got within like 50
Well-
yards
Wow.
with binoculars and I was just watching them pick away at the dead deer.
Wow.
Yeah,
We had one that got a
Yeah.
loon that
Oh.
was, the loon was too late, that
Yeah.
wasn't, it didn't leave with the rest of them because it couldn't take off.
I know.
And by the time it could, there wasn't enough
Yep.
space left.
Yep.
And that eagle watched until the ice went in around that loon. And,
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
Knows.
yes.
Yeah. Dinner.
Carol Wyman had a family emergency. She's okay, but just has to attend to that, so
She just,
she wrote to me.
and she
I texted her.
down as excused.
Yeah, I just put it in.
Well, it's
Oh,
fun to
and-
talk with like-minded people about wildlife.
Sorry, Charlotte, can you email her this when you're sending it to Jean?
I'll do that.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Thank you. And since it's part of the meeting. Yay, look at me go.
So you say you're thinking of getting the fishing game?
Yes, I'll get
Okay.
in touch with them.
Oh,
That'd be great.
that's the thing I forgot to tell you guys as part of my select board report. Our new,
Oh, yes.
yeah, our new
Yeah.
health and safety officer, who
Yeah.
is our,
I asked about him coming tonight, actually.
Vinny.
And he couldn't tonight.
Yeah.
But he can, our next meeting.
And is already well qualified, very knowledgeable, and just familiarizing himself with Enfield, but was previously held this position elsewhere. So yeah,
Nice.
hit the ground running already, is already answering questions, so
Nice.
we'll be able
What's
to.
his name?
And he'll be a big
Benny,
part of,
oh my gosh, I'm gonna embarrass myself by
Oh.
not getting his last
where
name.
is it?
Hang on. This is,
Vinny, isn't it?
no, it's Benny, but I'm gonna get his name.
Is it VIRTSI or something like that?
Vinny, VINNI,
I
Vinny's,
think the last name.
oh, his first name is Vinny?
Yeah.
Vincent,
Vincent.
Vincent.
goes by Benny. Why? You don't want me to be in charge of remembering anything either. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Anyways, he's on board, which is really exciting, and he's knowledgeable and
Good.
okay.
I just brought up a meeting and it said, November 2017. I
Percy, Tursi.
T-U.
Oh, and they actually list him as Benny online, but he is, so Tursi.
T-U-R-S-I.
Yeah.
Tursi.
well, I hit the SI button.
Hey, look, we are all doing the best we can to remember things. It's not that people are important, it's that you can only pack so much memory in.
I know.
So he prefers to be called Vinny though, evidently.
I'm gonna assume, since
VINN. So he's supposed to come and meet us next meeting.
Cool.
And he's out building inspector, right? Cause that's the same. Role as helping.
So, is there any other old business to updates?
I'm all set.
I should give you a quick thing since I've dragged you through this whole culvert thing over and over again. We had our annual meeting. Tom is a new road agent. And we actually got it
condolences.
passed.
That's our condolences.
Yeah. It actually passed that we're going to replace that culvert. However, we're gonna wait until November because
Okay,
Dan,
great.
Dan Reagan applied for a federal loan. Grant, thank you.
Big difference.
Yeah, big difference. When you have to pay back and when you don't.
Unless it's a principal forgiveness loan, and then it's almost as good as a grant.
Right.
Yeah,
I,
and it's through the Long Island Sound, what was the name of the group? Long Island Sound Watershed, because Connecticut River goes into the Long
Yeah.
Island Sound.
Yeah,
there's something I was
Yeah,
reading
they're reducing that.
just today, another group that applied for that same loan.
Yeah,
Oh, can't even remember, it was in some email I got.
But
This
this
was-
one supported that.
This was a combination with
Ed
the town.
Morris helped
Yeah.
Dan
Yeah.
do it.
This one was.
So,
Yeah.
This was,
Yeah, so, and that was
Yeah, this one.
greatly appreciated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a
Valley, but I
good,
can't remember what it was.
because it really, we want it to work out. It's just, you know, you start fixing one private road, then you have to fix everybody's private road and take it over.
So anyway, so it did pass. And then the other thing is that if we do not get the grant, because, you know, like you said, other people are applying. If we don't get it, we still put through a motion that the culvert will be replaced and the road association will put the bill.
It's good to hear.
Good, a second set of dues. And that we're gonna know in November if the grant is
Okay.
accepted. And you've already contacted
Yep.
the winning bid and they're willing to keep the price.
Yep.
And do the job in November. They prefer to do it now, but they certainly understand the situation. So, thank God.
Now, you know, how much money does this grant, how much do they have to?
Our group will get $15,000, which is
But I mean, you know how big a,
$50,000, minimum of a $50,000.
Yeah, you have to go in, my understanding was you have to go in for a pretty substantial amount, and so
Yeah,
I think the way the grant, my understanding, I didn't read the final, was to be written, was to include more work than just the culvert, to do some upstream mitigation. So that they're doing some cause, you know, mitigation and not just result
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
which is, so it would be
essentially,
great.
dams,
Yeah.
what do they call those things? Catch dams?
dam.
or
Either catch
Catch
holding
basins.
dams or something.
Catch dams on Lockhaven.
Yeah,
So that the silt
Just
drops.
slow the water down, basically slow the water down, so you have to borrow the.
the big thing with them is keeping them cleaned out.
Yeah.
And if you saw, the state is working on Sugar Hill Road, and when they did the culvert, I think it's the first time I've ever seen them put in the rock to help drop the.
Yeah,
A lot of things have changed
Very
since
happy to see that.
cyanobacteria.
that just slows the flow down, right?
And it helps the silt drop out. The town did it in the big ditch that's actually above ours, which washes the road and
Yeah, yeah.
the whole road out.
So a lot of things are being done differently in a lot of
That's the
ways.
town road.
Hey, we learn.
I've been very carefully placing more rocks and digging the silt out in front of it. I'm like the caretaker of it. I'm like, oh, we'll put that sand back on the side of the road
Yeah,
away from
yeah.
the water. If anyone wants separately, if anyone wants plants going into fall that are native perennials that are good for the watershed, I'm happy to share.
I'm not taking as good a care of mine as I should. But
No, I'm excited. I'm pro-life for plants. I
Yeah.
run out of space eventually. I've been sneaking them around to places.
anyone else have anything?
If you see me when you're riding your bike digging a hole in perennials, mind your business.
I do.
No, I'm just fooling with you.
I let Wyatt Earp alone. I wasn't gonna bother with him.
That was a wise move.
It's on the side of the road with a shovel.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mad woman with shovel.
On our correspondence,
And hours.
we did get a, copy of, submission that Mike Burns on Crystal Lake has applied for. And, he looked it over carefully.
Hmm.
And he's really doing an improvement on,
His shoreline.
yeah. Yeah. But,
What's the
So I don't-
location, Shirley?
pardon me.
What's the location?
Let's see, what's his address? 11 Doolittle Drive in Enfield. And he's, doing some work for where there is a problem with stormwater. There's just a narrow area on Crystal Lake Road between the road and the lake.
Okay.
And Mike owns a landscaping company in town, so he is gonna be mindful. If he sees a problem, he's gonna.
Yeah.
And he
But
actually-
smart to do it the
It's
right way.
interesting, though, he didn't submit he had someone else submit the
Application.
plan.
Well, I think that makes sense, though. That
Yeah,
way,
It
you,
does.
it's not you're doing it and doing the work. You have somebody else
And
checking.
thinking, that you're gonna get special. But anyways, it's a good plan and, it's more helpful. It's not harmful. So, I thought maybe someone might be here tonight. Maybe they wanted because we got the conservation's approval on it. But I guess not.
I think we just get a copy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Because it said something in here about conservation approved on the list, but evidently it's not one that's gonna be questionable, so I don't think
Yeah.
they need it.
Yeah.
And then there was another one, it just came today that I got that there's a alleged report of an alleged violation on Mascoma Lake. I'd heard about this, but I hadn't got any information on it. Down in the area where there was a proposed, let's see. Proposed, beach, you remember on, that area on Mascoma Lake?
Oh, yes, this should have been
Someone
part
in
of
that
the
area
select
cut
board.
A lot of trees without.
Off of 4A?
So it wasn't necessarily proposed beach, it's the Johnston Drive property, and there were some people wanted a beach and some people didn't, and they did this whole committee. So, one of the abutters who has a right of way, went and without permission of the town, who was the landowner, cut a bunch of stuff within the shoreline with no permit and without permission. And so as the town, when we see a violation, because someone could turn us in, right? So we had to turn them in.
Yeah, that was right near the rail trail, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, right by the road. I saw that. I
Right.
saw all the cutting.
Yep.
So that was.
She hired someone to cut it and it's too bad the company should have
All
known
of
they
our
needed.
meetings.
No, yeah, and she was issued a letter by the town.
Okay,
Anyway, she's been issued a letter by the Department of Environmental Services, and the case has been added to their inspection
Okay.
list. So I think
So, but
they
it
have it under control.
is not done with the permission of the town. We're obviously not gonna, we already went through the entire process of forming a committee, listening to the committee and making decisions. And the decision was not to go cutting and clearing.
So the town has let DES, it wasn't, no, it wasn't.
We
Yeah,
wrote to the, yes, we had to, our team had to write to the,
so I think that really we don't need to take a position on that.
no. I would
The
just,
town.
yeah, and I think it just is one of those things. If something happens on one of our properties, it's, on us to let DES know what happens.
Right.
Yeah, and be very, very honest
That's
and
our
responsive.
responsibility. So it's a quiet month for applications.
Yeah.
Does anybody know the status of the first lot on Holly Drive? They started work on it and they were sold to cease and desist because they didn't get a permit and they were cutting trees down and clearing.
I just wanna know how you get to, can afford an excavator that big and you could leave it that long, cause I.
Oh, yeah, it was sitting there for almost
So-
a year.
I think,
They
I
were
think he owns,
closed down because they didn't have a permit, Tom?
Can
I
you-
thought they had got it. That came to us a couple.
Did they ever get a permit?
My understanding is they got a cease and desist order because they were cutting trees down without a permit.
Oh, good. I'm glad that.
And then an
The last
excavator
thing-
sat there for a year and they moved the excavator and nothing's happened to the property now. but I didn't
The
know
last
if
thing
it's-
I remember seeing, remember the one we definitely got was a dock, cause there are 2 docks and that came to us. Because the property was owned by the neighbors across, the lake, across the street from the lake, and they wanted to put a dock so that they could have their right of way, and then I sold it. So there were 2 docks. That's the last permit I remember, but I'm not saying they
So
don't
they
have.
must have proceeded without, the last I knew, they, came before, they were working with DES on what they could do and what they couldn't do. But evidently they wanted to.
Apparently, you can't drive
DES
an excavator with a
became
bunch
aware
of
of it.
ledgestone, and
That's good. Yeah, because,
I was wondering how that was going down.
yeah, we could actually write and see. how it seems. That is a sensitive area. Okay, so I guess that's, there's no other correspondence. Next meeting will be 8/1. And does anyone else have any other business to bring before the commission before we adjourn?
Can I just ask for the next agenda, can we put the septic on continuing business? Cause
Pardon me?
can we put this on the septic rules on continuing business?
Oh, yeah,
I'm hoping we'll have something to bring back. I can't promise you, but
yeah,
that way it's just there as a placeholder and I can, worst case scenario, I say, hey, we've been taking feedback, but we don't have a new draft for you yet.
right.
Yep.
Because there's going to be a lot done on this.
I hope so. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll say that.
sounds good.
seems good.
Everybody got a program.
I got one.
Yes.
Yeah, I got one. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go to your well.
Yeah.
Talk, by the way.
Oh, you can encourage dialogue.
Seconded my motion.
Well, come to the ice cream social before. The ice cream socials for 1 to 3 in the wildlife presentation.
Is that for?
It was a simple, yeah.
I'll have to-
You'll have a
I'll
belly
ask
full of
her
ice
to do it.
cream. You
Ice
can
cream
come.
social.
They're ice cream Sunday.
Can you guys just say yes, you want to adjourn?
Yes, Jay Williams, yes.
We need to do that by,
You just go around and say, yes, I know who you are. That'll be good enough for the recording. Oh, please.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's call it a night,
Yeah.
guys.
No,
and
wanna
Jean-
stay here.
we're looking forward to seeing
gonna
you.
be
I'm
alone.
sorry, Jean didn't know that the meeting was going to be July 11th. And I think you said you're on your way to Colorado.
Correct.
That's fun.
Well, we
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you and have a good trip.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how this is gonna work, so. All right. Recording. It's not recording. Oh.